Aurelius Augustinus, more commonly Saint Augustine of Hippo, lived 354 to 430 Common Era, was a rhetor, Christian Neoplatonist, North African bishop, a doctor of the Roman Catholic Church, and prolific writer. Augustine is not only one of the major sources whereby classical philosophy in general and Neoplatonism in particular enter into the mainstream of early and subsequent medieval philosophy. There are significant contributions of his own that emerge from his modification of that. For example, while Plato relates justice to the proper relations among the elements of the state and the soul, St. Augustine conceives of justice in terms of the proper relations between God and man on one hand and among men on the other. Augustine was born on November 13th, 354 in Tagaste. His father Patricius was a pagan, but his mother Monica was a devout Catholic. At the age of 11 in 365, Augustine went to school in an old Numidia town just south of Tagaste. At the age of 17, he went to Carthage, Tunisia, to continue his education in rhetoric, and there he came under the influence of the controversial Persian religious cult Manichaeism, a religion and dualistic philosophy. He lived a hedonistic lifestyle for a time, including frequent visits to the brothels of Carthage, and developed a relationship with a young woman that lasts 15 years, who later bore him a son. In 391, despite the fact that he didn't intend to become a priest, when he was summoned to Hippo, the people gathered and cheered him, begging Bishop Valerius to ordain him, so he was ordained as priest of Hippo of North Africa. 401, Augustine completes the highly influential story of his own conversion, his Confessions. In 410, Rome was sacked by the Germanic Visigoths. This was the first time the city had been sacked in 800 years. This event left Romans in a deep state of shock, and many saw it as punishment for abandoning traditional Roman religion. Throughout the world, rumors of the sacked city were greeted with horror. 413, 3 years later, in response to the pagans' charge that Christian impiety towards the Roman gods had brought the gods' wrath upon the city, St. Augustine, Bishop of Hippo, took up his pen to defend Christianity from this charge. These writings were the beginning of his great literary work, which would prove to become one of the most respectable and frequently cited books of church history. 426, 13 years of labor completed this work. Augustine called it The City of God. It is a book written in Latin, dealing with issues concerning God, martyrdom, Jews, and other aspects of Christian philosophy. The City of God is one of Augustine's major works. Augustine wrote this treatise to explain Christianity's relationship with competing religions and philosophies, and to the Roman government with which it was increasingly intertwined. The collapse of the Roman Empire was followed by the rise of Christianity. It is estimated that some 80 years after the acceptance of Christianity in Rome, around 300 AD, Christianity was declared the official religion of the Roman Empire. The values espoused by this religion contradicted the Rome way of life, were founded on emperor worship and worldliness. Faith in God, salvation, love for God, and belief in life beyond this world characterized Christianity. Although the basic premises are very different from those of the Greek thinkers, you will notice that Plato and Aristotle exerted influence on ideas and works of St. Augustine. Plato spoke of the forms, eternal truths, and the good. Augustine says they all spring forth from God. More important than speculation and intellectual pursuits, there must be divine illumination. Augustine claimed that you discover these eternal truths through the illumination of the divine light. He believed that divine light is to the mind as the sun is to the eyes, a metaphor straight out of Plato's allegory of the cave. Every human needs God's lights to uncover the forms or to see the truth. Augustine set out to console Christians, writing that, even if the earthly rule of the empire was imperiled, it was the city of God that would ultimately triumph. Augustine's eyes were fixed on heaven, with the belief that the state's existence is to 1. Secure and maintain peace, and 2. To expand God's kingdom on earth by converting people to Christianity. Despite Christianity's designation as the official religion of the empire, Augustine declared its message to be spiritual rather than political. Christianity, he argued, should be concerned with the mystical, heavenly city, the New Jerusalem, rather than with earthly politics. This writing presents human history as being a conflict between what Augustine calls the city of man and the city of God, a conflict that is destined to end in victory for the latter. The city of God is marked by people who forgot earthly pleasure to dedicate themselves to the eternal truths of God, now revealed fully in the Christian faith. The city of man, on the other hand, consists of people who have immersed themselves in the cares and pleasures of the present, passing world. These two cities, Augustine wrote, share a common desire, peace. However, they have different methods of seeking it. The earthly city seeks earthly peace and an orderly society, but it strives for peace as a product of man's intelligence and administrative abilities. Part of the heavenly city which dwells on earth seeks earthly peace as well, but only when it complements the ultimate goal of peace under God. Augustine died on August 28, 430, at the age of 76, during the siege of Hippo by the Germanic Vandals who destroyed the entire city except Augustine's cathedral and library. Augustine was later made a saint. He was a patron saint of the brewers, the printers, the theologians, and the sore eyes.